Alright guys, hey this is how to crank flip tutorial flat with myself, Matt Tasker. So what you want to do to start with, right, is before we actually get the cranks spinning and everything into the learning process, you want to check that your cranks do spin. So I am left foot forward, and this demonstration to see if your cranks do spin. So take for example you're left foot forward like me, just as an example I guess. So to kick the crank straight down, bad kick, sorry. Kick the crank straight down and 2.5 spins, right? So if your cranks start here, right, and you give them a full kick back, and they do a full crank to about crank and a quarter, that's a good amount, right? But if you crank and they go to about here, that's where the sweet spot is, right? And if they go any further, it's just gonna be so much easier. But if you do a crank, full crank, and they land about just under, right, so just about there, or yeah, just about there, it's gonna be harder for you to learn, but you can still learn. You just gotta really give it to it. So everything I'm about to teach you, you just need to push a bit harder and a bit more effort. But if you want looser cranks, loosen your crank bolt. It's on either side. Mine's a hollow through, so it doesn't have that. And then if you also want to loosen off and you don't want to loosen your cranks, loosen your chain a bit and it'll loosen. Alright, so the first step to learn how to crank flip is getting comfortable taking your feet off. Because most people don't like taking their feet off because they're scared they're going to get a shinner or this or that. There's so many excuses, but you just need to get past that and fight with your mental for a bit, and then you'll get past it. So the first stage is just taking your feet off and raising them above the seat a bit. If you have a high seat post, chuck your fist in, and then just above your fist, it's probably in the line with the top of your seat. And if you don't have a high seat post, put a fist on the top of your seat and then try and aim for about there. Alright, so you're just going to take your feet on and then lift them straight up and put them on. Alright, and once you've done that a couple of times, just so you get used to doing it, and you'll get higher and higher, yeah, you should be getting close to getting comfortable taking your feet off. And then the next step is, right, doing it with a little hop. Alright, so you want to take your feet off and do that. It's like a little no footer, but it's a bit more wonky and feels weirder. That is harder to do than the crank flip itself. So once you've mastered that, you should be able to do a crank flip. So the next step, right, the part where the crank flip actually starts, is you want to have your foot down a bit, right, and then most people have their foot flat. Most people have their foot flat. You want to have a foot angled down at the same like diagonal pattern as the cranks are, and then you don't want to have your foot too far up. You want to have it so the top of the pedal hits about the top of your arch here, right? So once you've got it in there, you can just hold on. You can just like hold on. It's hard to do standing like this, but you should be able to flick it and it will just flick, right? So once you've learned that stuff, right, and you've got that all good, you want to learn how to do the rolling, not hopping yet, but rolling crank flip. So you roll in a straight line, and then you just do a crank flip and then try and land on your feet. Right? Land your feet on the pedal, sorry. Remember, your feet have to come straight up above the seat and land straight back down. Some people, depending on how you're comfortable are, some people shoot one foot at the back, one foot down, and then they catch. I don't know how to do that, so this isn't the video explaining that. So, you want to do that? So, the next part is the rolling crank flip. So once you've done it, you roll, you crank flip and you land. And then do that about a couple of times to get comfortable. And then I recommend not doing the actual hop crank flip straight away. You can if you want, I can't stop you. But I recommend a learning curve with most people is they just try and hop and they're not actually comfortable yet. But once you get comfortable with doing that, so I reckon do 10 in a row, right? 10 in a row. So as soon as you land one, do about half crank, another one. Half crank, another one. Half crank, another one. So on until you get about 10 in a row, right? Once you've got the 10 in the row, then you can start hopping the crank flip because you're comfortable and you know where your feet land and everything's good. Yes, you'll still miss some when you hop, and once you've got it mastered, but the same with other tricks. You can do a million bar spins and you can stuff up 10. Like, you cannot do a single bar spin one day, next day you come back and you can do every bar spin you want. It's just BMX really. But, so the hopping for the crane flip is you don't want to hop like this, right? So you don't want to have both wheels hop at the same time, like a normal, like just beginner hop, because you can do it, but it's a lot harder. So yeah, it's just weird. I've never really done it that way. So you want to learn how to pull your front wheel up and then tuck your back wheel up. Right? So big bunny hop. So if you don't know how to do that already, I recommend learning that and then coming back to this video when you're ready. So if you've learned that and you know how to do that and you've mastered all the other steps, now is the part where you actually learn how to do the crank flip, right? So, the hop crank flip. So, since you've done all the other parts and you've mastered them, I'm assuming, you really got to commit to this last bit. So, you want to hop and flick the crank flip right, and then once you've mastered that part, you should be straight for this, but you just got to focus on that. So once you've done all that, this is where the crank flip starts. So you pull the crank flip, you do the big hop, and I missed that one, see? You miss them all the time, but you can still land them. Alright, redo that. Sorry guys, there's a car in the way. Alright, learn the crank flip now. Alright, so once you've landed that and you've done all that stuff, pretty much sweet. You just got to keep perfecting it, mastering it, and then once you've dialed it, you know, add stuff to it. Like one that I learned the other day is X up, and then once you pull out, crank flip and stuff, heaps of stuff you can learn, like crank flip 180, half cap crank flip, fakie crank flip, 360 crank flip, heaps of stuff, dude. Like you can pretty much add a crank flip to any trick you want to try. Feeble, crank flip Smith, lucky, everything. So now you've learnt that. That has come to the end of the video, but thank you for watching guys, and the next video will be on how to do this trick. This is called a pull-up bar. Hold on. Alright, next trick is on how to do a pull-up bar with both feet, and this is what it looks like. Thank you for watching guys. My name's been Matt Tasker, and that's the end of the video.